Major funding for this program is made possible by grants from HSH Nordbank New York branch and First American Title Insurance Company of New York, Perfect Building Maintenance, Greenberg Traurig LP, Allied Partners, the Moynihan Group. Additional funding for this program is made possible by grants from Antares Real Estate, Arbor Realty Trust, C.B. Richard Ellis, Cushman & Wakefield, Essex Capital Partners, Fremont Investment and Loan, Massey Knackle Realty Services, Muss Development LLC, Rosenthal & Rosenthal Inc., Signature Bank, Stonehenge Partners, Swig Equities, the Engel Berman Group, the Wickoff Group, Titan Capital, YL Real Estate Developers.
Hello, my name is Michael Stoller, host of the Stoller Report. Coney Island. Everyone loves amusement parks. Everyone always wants to be in Coney Island. You got the Keyspan Park, you have the beach, you have everything going on over there. But really, what's happening in Coney Island and Brighton Beach? There are very few people who can tell you truthfully what's happening. But today I've assembled 3 individuals who really know what's going on and are going to change the face of Coney Island and Brighton Beach. My guest today includes Charles Bendit, partner, principal, and co-founder of Taconic Investment Partners, Tom Lydon, president of the City Investment Fund, and last but not least, Jason Muss, principal at Muss Development, LLC. So you guys lived in Jersey. I mean, what do you know about New York? What do you know about Coney Island? Why are you so bullish, and why are you developing so much in Coney Island?
Well, we plan to be developing a lot in Coney Island. It's still up for grabs as to what will ultimately be able to develop. But growing up in New Jersey, we went to the shore, and the beach was always a great place to go. And when I was brought out to Coney Island about 2 years ago, it dawned on me that we were sitting at the beach. And not only were we sitting at the beach, but the beach was served by Subway. And New York City, over the last couple of years, has redeveloped or rezoned a lot of its waterfront for residential. It is essentially reclaiming the waterfront for people to live. The difference between Coney Island and the river waterfronts is that Coney Island actually has a waterfront that's usable. People will go and spend the afternoon at the beach, whereas along the riverfronts you don't have that same type of amenity. So I thought when I went out there, this was a great opportunity. We have undeveloped land. We're not really dispossessing anybody. It's just vacant land that is ready to be redeveloped. And what a great place for people to live and then work in Brooklyn or Manhattan.
You know, your family in 1997 went to, I mean, I grew up in Brooklyn. I grew up 5 minutes from Coney Island, Brighton Beach. I remember going to Base 7 or Base 6 over there, and, you know, you were Brighton Beach private, you know. It was this nice place, you know, with the Flamingo Kid, you know, the people playing cards. And you took this place, and you developed how many units, the Oceana?
865.
865 units.
Yes.
Now, I mean, and this has been a great success. How, you know, and it's the same water, right, Charles? It's, you know, it's the same beach, and you have a boardwalk, and you have all of this nice situation. How did this grow? How did this dynamic thing happen in Brighton Beach, the Oceana?
Well, when the former Soviet Union collapsed, there was a great wave of immigrants from the former Soviet Union, namely Ukraine, Moscow area, Kiev, different areas within the former Soviet Union that came mostly to Brooklyn and to the New York area in the hundreds of thousands in the late 80s, early 90s. And these people were generally coming in as professionals and they were very successful back in Eastern Europe. And coming to Brooklyn, they thrived. The problem was that they were drawn to the water because many of them were from the Ukraine on the waterfront, and naturally drawn to southern Brooklyn. And they saw that Brighton Beach was a great community for them. It was not that expensive. There were stores there on the beach, on the Brighton Beach Avenue main retail strip, which allowed them to start businesses. But there was no brand new housing which would allow them to tell the whole world that they've arrived. So many of them were moving into single-family homes in Manhattan Beach, which is an adjacent community, in Sheepshead Bay and Gravesend, different areas in southern Brooklyn. But they really longed to be in the hub of things, near the train going into Manhattan, but also with amenities like an indoor and outdoor pool, underground parking, right adjacent to the retail that they can go to on a daily basis, and at the same time send their kids to top quality schools, have activities for them in a clubhouse. And when we created a 16,000-foot clubhouse and a huge outdoor pool with a large 1-acre amenity area for them for their children to use and to utilize, it really struck a chord in the community, and they responded overwhelmingly. We sold 50 or 60 apartments in the first month, and we've averaged over the last 6 years over 120 sales a year. It's been an overwhelming success.
So you've built 880?
So far we've built 797 units. We will be attaining a TCO on the last building, which has 68 units, which will bring us to a grand total of 865. The TCO will be attained hopefully in late May, early June.
And then are you going to build any more?
Nothing that we can announce at this time. We are working on hopefully plans for another building in the vicinity, but that's not something that we've yet announced.
Right, but you know, so I think this is really great, because how far are we from the Oceana, which is in the heart of Brighton Beach, with amenities, with this heavy Russian community, to Coney Island? A mile, Tom?
Maybe a mile and a half, or maybe
Right.
a mile and a half.
I mean, in reality, if you wanted, you can walk on the same boardwalk from Brighton Beach to Coney Island.
Right.
Now, but Coney Island for, I don't want to age myself, but for at least 40 years or to 45 years, has really nothing has happened.
Right.
You know, it's like parts of the city where things haven't really happened. But today, you know, I'd say part of the change was Keyspan Park. I mean, opening of Keyspan Park has definitely changed this. You always had that great Italian restaurant. You had 2 or 3 great Italian restaurants in Coney Island, Gargiulio and Carolinas. But you know, Brighton Beach always had Mrs. Stall's. You know, we have to take care of all locations.
Don't forget Totona's Pizza.
With the Totona's Pizza, I agree. But so now, the project that you guys are planning to do near Keyspan Park, do you think you're going to get, I mean, a mile is nothing, and these people want to be in Brighton Beach, and Brighton Beach besides Oceana, how many, what would you say of the large population in Brighton Beach are Russians? How many would you say?
In Brighton Beach itself?
In Brighton Beach itself?
It's probably something like 60%. There are a lot of other communities there that have taken root in the last few years. In Oceana, it's much higher than 60%. But you know, I would say Brighton Beach is a very diverse community. There are a lot of different groups from all over the world there, which is what adds to its strength. And you know, I couldn't probably name all the groups that are there. I could probably name 4 or 5, but there's an amazing diversity there.
Well, there's a huge pent-up demand, wouldn't you say? In Brighton Beach, you can't accommodate the demand for residential in the Brighton Beach area.
You don't have the land.
There's no land.
Right, and now we go to Coney Island. And what do we have there? What is in Coney Island today on the sites that you guys have developed, on the sites near the old Steeplechase Park and the Keyspan Park? What's there today?
Well, we haven't developed anything.
No, I know, but what's there? That's what I'm saying. And
Primarily vacant land, primarily, on a large number of things. Another piece of property which our partnership with Taconic controls, which is on the southern part of Surf Avenue, is the old Child's Restaurant site, which is a very historic and very interesting redevelopment opportunity, which we're going to look at. And then there's a couple of buildings, and then there's some miscellaneous, I'll call, structures, but a lot of it is parking for school buses and things like that. So that's the great opportunity, is that, as Charlie said, you don't have to displace a population in order to do a full master planning and rezoning to take advantage of the natural attributes. And that's one reason we were attracted to it, was the fact is New York City, through EDC and city planning, is really the one spurring the interest in remaking Coney Island into something much better than it is today. And we're working in cooperation with the New York City agencies responsible to try to achieve a master planning for the entire area, and specifically for the parcels that we control on the southern part of Surf Avenue, and Charlie through Taconic and another partnership to control more land on the northern part.
So you have land on both sides of Surf Avenue.
Right. Just to put it into perspective, including some undeveloped parking lots, which are mapped parklands, but we're part of the overall redevelopment plan. And we have to deal with the parkland issue because, the mayor has an initiative to increase the number of parks, and we respect that, and we need to figure out a way to deal with what is considered to be mapped parkland but currently used as parking lots. If you look at all the land that we control together, it's about 1 million square feet of land that could be developed on the west side of Key Span Park and on the north side of Surf between Stillwell Avenue and 21st Street. So there's an enormous opportunity to create a whole neighborhood, not only with residential, but with retail, which would then have an impact on reactivating Mermaid Avenue, which is the avenue to the north of Surf Avenue, which has a number of vacant parcels. So there's an opportunity to recreate the main drag in Brighton Beach under the subway, under the elevated subway, which is a vibrant retail community. It's fascinating. You go there any day of the week, any time of the year, rain, snow, it doesn't matter. It's bustling.
But right now, Charlie, basically Mermaid Avenue is not retail. Surf is not retail. It's really a lot of vacant land,
Right.
undeveloped, underutilized, and in a city that we need land and we need development. This is a great opportunity.
Well, that's what we saw. Therein lies the opportunity.
Therein lies the
Right.
opportunity.
Prior to the show, you were saying about some of the people that you might think who might want to move there or buy something. Why don't you tell my audience?
Well, what we saw was, first of all, the population of New York City is growing. Not only do you have the influx of people from Eastern Europe, but you have other people coming into the city, and the population of New York has grown from 7 million people in the early 80s to 8 million people today, and according to forecasts, could be 9 million people in the next 15 or 20 or 25 years. So we desperately need housing. What Coney Island has is a very unique amenity. It is the beachfront. And one of the things that we saw was an opportunity to create housing for young people who would love to live at the beach, go to work in Manhattan or in Brooklyn or in Queens, be able to take mass transportation to their home in 30 to 45 minutes, get off the train, walk 10 minutes and be at the beach and be at your home. But what needs to be created not only is the residential community, because it needs to be created en masse. You can't build a 400-unit building and expect to change the neighborhood. It has to be done with greater density. And in order to do that, you also need to provide the retail, because people want to have entertainment in their neighborhood. And most people today enjoy going out to restaurants or going to shops. That needs to be created in the neighborhood as well, not only along Mermaid Avenue, but within this 1 million square feet of land that's going to be redeveloped. We also need to provide service-type retail, the type of entertainment-type retail that people are going to want as part of their neighborhoods. Then, of course, you have the whole area east of Key Span Park, which is designated the retail and amusement zone. And that in of itself creates a great opportunity, because it's going to be a very, very unique aspect of New York City.
You know, the Jersey Shore guys over here, I mean, I remember Steeplechase Park had closed when I was growing up. And, you know, they had certain parts of Coney Island with limited, you know, you had the Wonder Wheel, you had the Cyclone, you had Nathan's, you had this, you still have Nathan's, and you have the other things. But the amusement area, I mean, from what I read, they want a massive amusement area. I mean, do you see this massive amusement park area taking place?
Well, I would say, again, I think massive, maybe not the right word, Mike. When you go look at old videos, which we have of Coney Island, all of Coney Island stretching for half a mile was all amusement, all these different special projects, and they either went broke or they burned down or whatever. So you're talking about an area, I think that Thor Equities, Joe Sitt, who's the principal, I think controls something like 14 acres, something like that is what in the answers. And I think the city is trying to direct the primary urban retail amusement into that area. Now, when you really think of this, you know, if you're going to do a Ferris wheel, if you're going to do some standard type of amusement thing, that takes up a lot of space. So I'm not sure it's massive, it's appropriate, and Thor Equities is probably as talented, you know, a group of professionals in this type of area of urban retail redevelopment. And Joe Sitt as an individual is a very excellent person to sell the concept, I think, to outside parties. But I don't think it'll overwhelm. I wouldn't call it massive. I think it's appropriate, and there will be a certain demand that will attract certain type of retailers and users and bring in people from outside the area on a year-round basis.
If someone had to say, I mean, Brighton, I mean, when I was growing up, and Brighton continued, Brighton always had people. It may have had a change in the socioeconomic, but the people were there, okay? Good, bad, and different. And periodically a new apartment house was built or something like that, because Brighton also had Manhattan Beach was the better part. Coney Island had Seagate, which was the better part, you know, separately. My question relates to, you know, entertainment. I think there's a question of what type of entertainment. I think family entertainment is one, you know, maybe a roller skating rink, an ice skating rink, you know, movies and that type of entertainment. And then there's the amusement entertainment. The question in, you know, and you guys are, you have the premier hotel in Brooklyn, you know, at the Marriott, the Brooklyn Bridge. Do you see, I mean, part of Thor's concept, and maybe part of your concept in a different venue, is to build a large hotel. Do you think Brighton, I mean, Brighton Beach or even Coney Island is really ready or can accommodate, or will a franchise chain do it?
Well, we've actually thought about the idea of building a hotel in Brighton Beach, finding a site and doing it, because we do think that there is potential. The issue I think for Coney Island to put a hotel there is they need Thor to deliver on not just the outdoor amenities and amusements, but the indoor stuff that he's been talking about, which would serve as a catalyst for business all year round. They can't just rely on the outdoor. A hotel does not work, I don't believe, 4 months a year. In Brighton Beach, you know, a hotel, if you could build something, it's very hard to find the site where it makes sense and to find enough scale to make a hotel work. But it does have the international business traveler market. There are a lot of very wealthy people who prefer to stay in Brighton Beach when they visit this country. And the Russian economy is absolutely booming with all the oil wealth and all the natural resources that they have there, and the trade and all the different things.
So you could see perhaps a 100-room Comfort Inn, or even a higher in Brighton Beach.
I wouldn't say Comfort Inn. I would say, you know, a very upscale, maybe European branded.
Or even
no, I would say a European branded boutique hotel would do very well there. And I'd love to do that if we had the land, which we don't. But I don't know. I don't think there is land around there to accommodate it. I think that in Coney Island they would probably rely on more of a regional tourist market, people who would come in during this good weather. And if Sitt builds what I've seen renderings of, then I think people will come from far and wide to experience it, because it looks pretty spectacular.
You know, but the shore, I mean, what you did say, Charlie, before, was 8 months of the year somebody could really enjoy the benefits of Coney Island. 4 months, it's cold. And can that retail, okay, you know, the indoor retail shopping center, mall, can they absorb and handle that 4 months of no one going there? You know, it's like the seaport, I think, which I think is a very good analogy. Mm-hmm. Seaport had a nice idea, but it's a failure. And then in certain times of the year, you know, it's a different question.
Well, the real challenge is to get the right mix of tenants. It has to be the right plan. It has to be the right type of amusements, the right type of development that will be a full 12-month-a-year facility. That's the real challenge, is to put the right type of use there.
But let's look. I hate to call you guys the Jersey boys, but in Atlantic City is a good example. I mean, when they built, it's 25 years that Atlantic City first opened, and the first retail in Atlantic City was also a failure. I mean, it's difficult to figure out. We're not going to have a lifestyle center in Coney Island. It's a little cold over there in the winter. It's beautiful, but it's cold.
Well, are you talking about the people that live there all year round, or is it the draw in the other 4 months of the year from people that are not living there all year round?
My question is, who's going to go to Coney Island to go retail shopping from November until March? I mean, maybe some of the people from Brighton Beach, maybe some of the people from Ocean Parkway, from other outskirts of Brooklyn. Perhaps maybe it's like Jersey City. Maybe if they reduce the sales tax, which is what they have in Jersey City, where there's only a 3.5% sales tax, maybe you'll have people come by. There are different ideas.
Well, if you create the right type of amusement park, people will want to go there in the wintertime when there's not a whole lot to do elsewhere. If you create an indoor facility that can entertain people, where families can come on a Saturday or a Sunday and play indoors while maybe dad goes shopping and mom takes the kids to play in the amusement area, or vice versa, or young teenagers decide that they want to go to the beach and spend an afternoon at Coney Island. Again, that's the real challenge, is to create the right mix of uses and tenants to attract people.
So, on the beach side, the Taconic City Investment is planning to build residential.
Right.
Any retail?
Yes. We would build retail, but not in competition with what's going to be on the east side of Keystone Park.
Okay. And on the other side of Surf Avenue, what type of what do you envision over there? What type of
on the
retail?
North side of Surf
Right.
Avenue? It could
where
be
the Childs is.
it could be restaurants, it could be supermarkets. The pieces of land that we have 200 feet of more than 250 feet of frontage, so you can build a nice size retail store. You don't have that anywhere else along Mermaid Avenue or along Surf Avenue. So you could build a nice supermarket. You could build other types of service type retail. When the city first conceived of the idea of putting retail along Surf Avenue, they were thinking more entertainment type retail. I think that's changed now when they've thought about how much retail is going to be developed east of Keystone Park and the type of retail that we'll be developing with City Investment Fund. The need for having entertainment type retail on the north side of Surf Avenue might have been excessive. So they're opening up their thoughts to service type retail. So that would be a little bit different.
What do you see happening in the other sections of Coney Island, towards Seagate, which is a gated community?
Well, you have a couple, one or two larger pieces of land. One piece of land has been rezoned and could be built, several hundred condominiums, and I think the dynamics are building that will take place sometime in the next 12, 24 months. Seagate's a community that is a security that has its own security gate, and there are substantial people buying homes in there, especially the ones along the water. It goes waterfront on Peace. They're paying $1 million for a tear-down house and building a beautiful new house. So there's a whole reinvestment, but you have to look at that as being an enclave type of place, rather than a community that has the type of diversity that we're probably going to see in Coney Island. We're not going to have, Jason's project was, pretty high-end, spa-oriented, very oriented toward one ethnic group. I think that Coney Island, we're going to have to attract people of all.
Jason's a condo. The type of residential you're planning is what, condos also?
Condominiums, yes, would most likely be it.
Condos, or it could be rental, but the problem is that right now it's very difficult to justify building rentals with the cost of construction the way it is. I think ideally it would be nice to have some sort of a mix, but unless
do you foresee what they perhaps did in Williamsburg, you know, where they allowed people to build condos, but they had to build a certain percentage of affordable rental housing?
Well, we've had this discussion many times amongst ourselves and with the EDC and city planning and with HPD. There is a lot of lower income housing in Coney Island. So the question is the definition of affordability. Who are we trying to cater to? Is it just the wealthy people, and then how do you define wealthy?
I think I'm talking really about the market rate. Okay, as you say, there is a lot of low income. There are a number of city projects. There are a lot of Mitchell Lama type of projects which have been always built in Coney Island. What I'm saying, and you know, this is something that, you know, I hate to be the poster boy for affordable market rate housing. Coney Island, with all of the massive amount of space that's there, you know, if the incentives were created by the city, you know, to help develop, build market rate housing, there is a need. You know, it could be like the 30/50 program, which HDC has done.
Right. I think a mix of housing that is more, you know, middle income, you know, workforce housing, something where you're talking about income levels,
right.
You know.
Where I'm talking people earning
is
$65,000 to $100,000, where their rents are going to be up to 30% of their income is being paid for the apartments.
The problem
even
is
with a lottery.
The places where there is this need are the very places that really you can't afford necessarily to provide such housing. For example, with the $650,000 cap that they're planning to put onto the 421A benefits for areas that aren't in the exclusion zone, it's going to force developers to build smaller apartments in order to make sure that your value is within that cap. And I think that unfortunately, what these guys are valiantly trying to do, and I think they have a lot of reasons to think they'll be successful with that cap. What they're trying to do will be hampered because they're trying to create a family environment, and they want to create 2s and 3 bedrooms. And a lot of those apartments will necessarily be very large. And if you want to get $600, $700 a foot, which you need to make money, you're gonna go above the cap. It's a problem.
Well, I think the city, you know, the city has put a lot of thought. They've spent a lot of money, a lot of brain power, and a lot of good conversation. Right. So they're aware of all these issues, and they want to provide both a set of incentives, and they want to make sure they accomplish their master planning throughout the entire area, because you need everybody to be successful, everybody to invest money, both public and private. And that's what we're working on doing.
And I think, you know, our time has come to a close. I think with people like the 3 people sitting here, and Thor and other really dynamic individuals, I think Coney Island, Brighton Beach, and other sections of New York City, especially Brooklyn with the waterfront and the beach and the boardwalk, are going to be renovated. And I'd like to thank my guests today, who really have given us some insight on Coney Island and Brighton Beach, Charlie Bendit, Taconic Investment Partners, Tom Lydon, City Investment Fund, and last but not least, Jason Muss Development, LLC. Next week, we leave New York City. We go to New Jersey. We talk about office buildings in New Jersey. See you next week.
Major funding for this program is made possible by grants from HSH Nordbank New York branch and First American Title Insurance Company of New York, Perfect Building Maintenance, Greenberg Traurig LP, Allied Partners, the Moynihan Group. Additional funding for this program is made possible by grants from Antares Real Estate, Arbor Realty Trust, C.B. Richard Ellis, Cushman and Wakefield, Essex Capital Partners, Fremont Investment and Loan, Massey Knackle Realty Services, Muss Development LLC, Rosenthal and Rosenthal Inc., Signature Bank, Stonehenge Partners, Swig Equities, the Engel Berman Group, the Wickhoff Group, Titan Capital, YL Real Estate Developers.